But first, we're going to get things started by heading over to the board and hearing from community artist educator Dolores Jackson Radney about some of the art that came out of the Harlem Renaissance. Come on, Sam, let's go.
Let's go.
All right.
Come on over.
Hi.
How are you, Dolores?
Hi.
I'm fine,
Pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet
Thank you for coming out.
I'm here today to talk about a few of the wonderful artists during the Harlem Renaissance or the New Negro movement.
Okay.
And I think the epitome of the person who pulled these ideas together that were coming together during the Harlem Renaissance is the artist Aaron Douglas.
Wow.
Aaron Douglas was born in 1899 and lived until 1979.
Wow.
He was from Topeka, Kansas, and his father was a baker and his mother was a stay-at-home mom, but she loved art.
Wow.
And she was an amateur artist herself.
Okay.
So when she saw that her son was quite creative, loved to draw, loved to paint, she encouraged him.
Cool.
He ended up graduating from college at in his hometown of Topeka and went on to study at the University of Nebraska, where he earned his undergraduate degree.
Cool.
So he also became, he started the art department at Fisk University, one of our historically black colleges. And in fact, if you want to know where most of the African American art is, it is housed at our historically black colleges.
Cool.
So there's that wonderful portrait of Aaron Douglas. And another one of him. He was, he really wanted to put together during the Harlem Renaissance, that is the culmination of the Great Migration from the South to the North.
Sure.
Of course, I'm a part of that. My parents moved up from Alabama, moved up to Buffalo, New York, but many people are a part of the Great Migration from the South to the North.
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay, really wonderful. So, Aaron Douglas wanted to, after he finished his undergraduate degree, he was heading to Paris. Of course, he wanted to go there.
Paris.
That's where all the artists went at the turn of the 20th century and wanted to study there. But he stopped off in New York City. It happened to be in 1925, and we have to say what an exciting time that was.
The Roaring 20s, right?
The Roaring 20s, the first time that African Americans are urban. In fact, the first time that Americans are more urban than rural. And there's this, and so we're not surprised that there's a great flourishing of the arts and other forms of creative expression, music, dance. And we know a lot about our musical heritage. Jazz happens then. The blues comes up. You know, our great spirituals. We know a lot about our literature. It documents itself. Of course, Zora Neale Hurston and Langston Hughes being the most famous. But we don't often know our visual artists.
Other way.
Oh, the other way. So, Aaron Douglas really puts together the ideas, the epitome of what African Americans wanted people to start thinking of them. The other side of the Harlem Renaissance, or the other name of it, is the New Negro movement. And people wanted to be modern. Aaron Douglas was a modernist. You'll see that the work that he does, first we'll talk about the style that he paints in, and then we'll talk about his subject matter. And so he paints in a very modernistic style. It has a cubist kind of sensibility. They're very flat, they're in shadows, the figures that you see here. He uses these concentric circles and these, again, these shafts of light to have you focus in on certain things. This is called the birth of the blues. Many of the artists of the Harlem Renaissance wanted to document African American history and culture and to capture our images for ourselves. We didn't want other people depicting us in negative ways. That you had seen a lot of the Pickaninny art that comes before that. So Aaron Douglas also wanted to harken back to our African heritage and always talk about the musical heritage that seems to be throughout our African American history and culture. So you see these shadow-like figures, you see a sense of movement. This is called Birth of the Blues. So right there at the center where he wants you to really look is a banjo player. And he's playing the strings. And the kora is an ancient African instrument, so strings have been wonderful throughout. So you also see that the labor that African Americans through slavery.
What else, or what other kind of artists were presented in the Harlem Renaissance?
What other
Do you
artists?
have any other photos besides?
Oh, absolutely. So,
Bottom one.
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
So again, well, let me say that Aaron Douglas was a muralist. And so these paintings that you're seeing in front of us now are in the Schoenberg Center, or the 135th Street Library in New York City.
Okay.
So he delivered his artwork in
So this is like
murals.
enormous, big.
This is huge.
Okay.
It's a 4-panel mural,
Wow.
and it is gorgeous. You see here that he's looking at ancient Egypt, and always aspirational. So they're going up into
And you
the
have the
heavens,
circle
and they're
still?
building.
Yeah,
And
the circle
again,
still.
that's his style.
Yeah. Okay.
You will always recognize Aaron Douglas for this, and the shadows that he uses.
Nice.
And this is his the panel that goes from slavery to Reconstruction. So you can see he used the color white to look at what?
So he,
What do you see there? What is the white?
the cotton.
Absolutely.
So he moves through.
Yes, but there's also a charismatic figure.
Yeah, it's like a
there.
preacher or something.
Yes, a leader there, and always
Some
some
music.
element of music.
Now, is that also a large?
This
very
is part of that aspects of Negro
Okay.
life. This
Okay.
huge mural that he's done. This is the 4th in that series, and it is called Song of the Towers. Now, Aaron Douglas wasn't the only artist of the
right.
Harlem Renaissance. We also had Meta Warwick Fuller, who was a sculptor and working around the same time. And this is her Ethiopia Awakening. It's a pretty famous sculpture by her. And I wanted you to know that there were also women working as well. That brings me to my friend. I had the great pleasure of meeting Dr. Lois Mailou Jones, professor at Howard University for so many years. She studied all over the world, but had a special love for Haiti, and that's why this is called Le Festiche, or the fetish. And she also, like Douglas, like Meta Warwick Fuller, were also looking back at their African heritage. And then we'll end with the wonderful art of William H. Johnson. He has a different style. He wanted to look at the folk art and to look at the blues. And so he decided that he was a beautiful easel painter and could paint realistically as everyone else, but he uses a great deal of color. He uses very simple, stripped down forms and kind of folky forms. But you can really see that those people are dancing their way.
Cutting a rug.
And having a great time, probably listening to some jazz in Harlem. So those are the wonderful artists. Aaron Douglas being probably the most famous. He also was an illustrator. He also documented for the crisis and opportunity. So not only was he looking at idealistic things, but he was also chronicling things that were happening there.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Dolores.
Nice to meet
Open
you.
our eyes to some beautiful art.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Cool.
Thank you so much.
All right. Would you, if you'd like to see, and we want to thank Dolores for being here tonight. And now we're going to take a look at the female artist that aims to empower young girls of color with art, or how art looks like them. Take a look.